You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. What are we talking about today? Talking about something different and something new? Nope, we're not. Seattle business owners are at their breaking point over crime. The criming continues, believe it or not. We're going to talk about it today. We got 3 stories. They're pretty interesting. One I've already kind of covered, but it's part and parcel of this whole thing. So before we get into this, if you're new here, thanks for joining. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies. I read to you the news that you want to hear. All right, let's jump on in. So some Seattle business owners are at their breaking point over crime. They're just done. And how many businesses have we seen? If you've been following this podcast, you watch me on YouTube, there's so many businesses that are like, yeah, we're going to go anywhere but Seattle. And by anywhere, I mean not Portland, not San Francisco, not New York, not bunch of these kind of cities, right? They're going to go to the suburbs where they can be more free and not impacted by having to play the dodge the human fecal matter on the sidewalk and or the crime going on right in front of their business. That's what we're talking about here. Pioneer Square business owner Hamza Albadan is at his breaking point and not mincing words. Here's a good one. Quote, this is Hamza Albadan saying, "They are a bunch of idiots running this gorgeous city." I read that again. There are a bunch of idiots running this gorgeous city. Can't agree more. Can't agree more. This is a small business owner. It's a guy who's owned a Euro shop for, 17 years, I think. He immigrated to Seattle to live out his American dream that now sits near South Main and 2nd Avenue exit. And I'll tell you why that is not a good location right now. It has been historically. When everything was open, you're super close to all kinds of cool stuff there. But right now, it's kind of tent city. And I did a walk, a few weeks ago during the NFL playoffs. Wasn't Super Bowl, but those games right before then, whatever that is. I'm kidding. But while you guys are watching football, I was walking around Seattle just to kind of see, hey, what's going on? Oh, wow, this is not good. And one of the moments I had was I went up a street, I went up 2nd Avenue, and I kind of got to a point where I could see everything. And on this one corner, just past it would be the southwest corner of South Main and 2nd, there's a bunch of tents, and they had a big drug bust that we're going to read about here in a second. Drugs, weapons. I mean, these guys were basically running a drug ring from the sidewalk in a tent in front of this guy's Euro shop, Main Street Gyros. And when I kind of got to that point where I could see what's going on, it was like, and there was a bunch of music being played out of the tents. That's when I was like, ooh, I'm going to scoot to the other side of the street and see if that's a little better, because this area right here, I don't feel good walking kind of past this little area on a public street in downtown Seattle. It was like one of those, this is not good. Didn't know what was in there, but it was a big bunch of tents. I don't know how many feet long, 30, 35 feet long, and took up the entire sidewalk, spilled over into the street. If you're in a wheelchair, and you come down that street, best of luck to you, because it's not ADA compliant. It's, covered with tents, but nobody seems to care, and it's nuts. So he immigrated to Seattle, live out his American dream that now sits near South Main and 2nd Avenue, right where I'm talking about. His Euro shop is right there. Like the wall that these tents are butting up, yep, that's the backside of his business. I'm pretty sure. I looked at the map and kind of saw where he was and knew where I was and saw the pictures of this tent encampment. I think we got to be out of business soon, Albadan said. He's on the cusp of possibly shutting down Main Street Gyros after 17 years. Albadan said it's not over the pandemic, but Seattle city politics and its handling of crime and homelessness. They're like prostituting in it in front of everyone with people waiting in line, Albadan said. The restaurant owner said for many months he witnessed not just prostitution, but drug deals going on in some of the tents just across the street. So maybe he's not right there. He's across the street. Whatever it is, it impacts his shop. I'll have to take a look at that next time I'm down there. Next time I'm just casually hanging out in downtown Seattle, On Tuesday, Q13 News was on the same spot following along as a wheelchair-dependent woman showed us how hard it was to get around the tent sitting on sidewalks near South Main. But for business owners, the problem has been way more than access issues. We have wonderful homeless, but this is not homeless. This is criminal people. They are mixing the homeless with criminal people. They're setting up in tents doing their criming. What a great cover, because they know nobody's going to move the tents. They're smart. They're not ethical. They're not legal, but they are smart, street smart. You know what I mean? Hey, you can't get rid of the tents, really. Let's set up shop in a tent. Nobody will know. We'll just claim we're homeless. This is great. And that's the cover they've been running with literally for just about a year, right? Now there is finally evidence captured by Seattle police backing what Albadan has been witnessing. On Tuesday, Seattle police arrested 3 men for running a criminal enterprise under the covers of the tents. They seized various narcotics, including cocaine, heroin, and nearly 140 grams of meth. That's some meth. That's a sizable amount. Cash and weapons were also confiscated. I can't run a business with a bunch of tents in front of your store. It's impossible, Daniel Carrillo said. Carrillo owns Gallery Frames. He says criminals are now exploiting the city's leniency on homeless tents that are allowed to pop up and stay anywhere. Business owners say this problem is a reoccurring nightmare, and they want long-term solutions from city leaders, including Seattle City Council member Andrew Lewis, who represents Pioneer Square. This is funny. There's an entire news post on this. Here's what the representative and the Seattle City Council member, this is his take on what's going on in his district. You can just imagine how this is going to go. You will have to talk to the police department or the mayor on what the long-term strategy is going to be in that corridor. But what I would really like to see is that we can just make sure that the Just Care program is renewed and expanded, because currently it's on hiatus. So what is he suggesting doing? Nothing at the moment, but he would like to see, he's reimagining, he's rethinking the Just Care program. Let's get that program back going, because that's going to take care of all this. Not. Hey, Andrew, what are you doing? Here's the answer. Nothing. He's just talking. He's just babbling about no solution. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to have to talk to the police department. Police department has basically been said, don't touch the homeless encampments. You can't do sweeps. So why would they talk to the police department or the mayor? What's the mayor doing about all this? You got it. Go ahead. You can say it for me. That's right. It starts with an N. We need to have those hats. Nothing. Lewis is pushing for Just Care, the new program to engage and help the homeless. He's rethinking, he's reimagining. Oh, wow, this is something else. That system has been really effective. There are 124 people that have mostly been removed from Pioneer Square and put into wraparound services that Just Care provides. And yet we've got ongoing busts of the tents in Pioneer Square. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about how many people have been taken out. 124 people? Great. It's still ongoing. That's the issue. Businesses can't be run there. They're saying, hey, been here a long time. This is a no-go. So what are you going to do about it? You're the Seattle City Council member. What are you doing about it? Apparently nothing. Just straight up nothing. Lewis says he understands the frustration over the decline of Pioneer Square, but he doesn't really care. And he is consistently talking to business owners, but not really providing any solutions. I'm adding some stuff in there, as you can imagine. But that is literally what's going on. Seattle politicians just kind of passing the buck around. Man, I hope we can reimagine and rethink this as a different area, without all the tents and without all the criming and the prostitutes and all this stuff going on. I'd like to reimagine that. I'd like to rethink this. But in the meantime, you business owners, you're hosed. There are these tents that are being used for shelter. A lot of them call them enterprise tents. They are concealing criminal enterprise, Lewis said. Okay, so you know it as well. What are you doing about it? You see illegal activity, deal with it then. Don't let it get to the point where you have to have a huge bust, Carrillo said. He's the frame shop owner guy. Yeah, that's what should happen. And toss these guys in jail for a long time. keep that in mind. That's one of my solutions. Get them off the street. But again, that's why you're here, is because you're going to hear some reasonable things that should be taking place, but they're not, because we are a progressively led city here in Seattle. And what happens when you're progressively led? That's right. Nothing. Hamza says it's infuriating that it took so long to remove the tents from the sidewalk, even with all the criminal activity going on. The city is tying the police's hands. And that's why the council member, don't ask the police. You're the one in charge here. What are you doing about it? Nothing. They cannot do anything about it, Albadan said, the cops. On Wednesday, the tents were gone, and people from the Pioneer Square community came out to paint over the graffiti where the tents used to be. That is great, but guess what? They will be back in some way, form, or shape. I mean, they probably view it as, well, guys, here on 2nd Avenue South in Maine, we had a good run, but let's get a different looking tent. The last tent, I think it was a big green and blue tarp. Let's do a black tarp this time. We'll try to really mix things up. Maybe our cover will last a little bit longer. I'm going to recommend that to the board meeting here, and then let's get going. Let's get the new location going, because we got profits to make. We got money to make, and everybody's just kind of letting us do our thing. We can put the tent up wherever we want. Nobody's going to say much. So let's look at a map. Let's look at Google Maps and really, really plan this out, because crime out of a tent, it's not going to be an opportunity we're going to have every day. We need to seize the moment here and really get going, guys, because this has been a short setback, having our 3 buddies arrested and the 2nd Avenue South and the main location. That's done for now, but we need to persevere. We need to move on. We need to get our drugs sold. I mean, they're kind of having that talk, right? I mean, that's exactly what they're doing right now, right? Not necessarily in those words, not in those business couched words, but that's why, I do a podcast, because I make fun of things like that in words that sound really appealing from the business standpoint. In reality, we're talking about a different segment of society. But it may not be enough to appease some business owners who say they are looking to leave Pioneer Square. Just did a podcast on Maria Calacurcio and her startup, Cindio. Broken into 3 times early on during the pandemic. No longer safe. Cindio out of Pioneer Square. Can't really blame them, right? Both Carrillo and Albadan say the tents will be back. There you go. And so will the crime. They've been dealing with the cycle since way before the pandemic started. These are not new issues here. Just the pandemic and all the policies with the pandemic have made it way worse. And you know what? A lot of it is there's not enough people walking around to put pressure on this kind of stuff happening. When you've got a ton more people in the area, you're just going to have more heat come from that, because you're going to have a bunch more crime. People are going to get assaulted. And guess what? There's going to be a bunch of that going on. Right now, the only people going down there are people who are getting drugs, because there isn't the people frequenting the shops. There isn't the people working in the high rises. And you just don't have that activity going. You just got drugs going on. And right now, city leadership is like, we're okay with this. We don't really know what to do. We're just going to let this run for a while. When you've been having this business for 17 years and you lose it because of a couple of people who run the city and they don't know what they are talking about, of course we're going to be angry, Albadan said. This guy's got some good quotes. He actually sounds like a business leader. I mean, he sounds like a guy who's had a business for a lot of years, right? And he's just pissed, and he's calling it the way it is. Although the raid happened outside his business, Albadan says crime is a growing problem all over Pioneer Square. Agreed. Man, there were some areas there right outside the courthouse, King County Courthouse. It was just a bunch of hoodlums walking around. I didn't even go close to there. I was taking some video, and I was like, oh, geez, I need to hide my camera right now, because these are not guys dressed up getting ready to go to church on Sunday. No siree. They had different things going on, and I didn't want to be any part of it. So I kind of walked through that area super quick, but took some looks and like, wow, this is straight up. I don't know what it is. It's not a good area I want to be in. Let's just put it that way. He says it's become so bad. This is Albadan again. He says it's become so bad that many delivery drivers are now telling him they won't pick up food at his place because of safety concerns. Yeah, we'd love to do business with you, but we don't want to get jacked getting out of our car, going into your store. Too dangerous. Ooh. You know, I just looked at my Google Maps. It says that you're like 2nd Avenue South in Maine. I'm going to have to say that's a no-go. Could you meet us a few blocks down the road and we'll hook up there? Totally joking, but that is the reality that we're talking about. Not safe. Not safe to have a delivery driver come to your shop to deliver food during the pandemic because it's too rough. Come 6 p.m. here, people are scared to walk, Albadan said. Beneath all the anger, there's a lot of sadness for Albadan, who says Seattle, to him, used to be the most beautiful city. And it still is, but it's got some scars. It's got some issues. It needs some downtime and it needs some healing, but it's probably not going to get that for a while because we got these ridiculous politicians in place doing, you got it, nothing. All right, second article here. And so we read about the first bust, and this is that bust. Seattle police arrest 3 men, seize narcotics, cash, and firearm, and did the full podcast on that. And this is part of a drug dealing investigation, and that's in the Pioneer Square neighborhood, and it was specifically $1,200 in cash, and we already read how much it was. And it was a 53-year-old, a 34-year-old, and a 32-year-old who were arrested for possession, sale, and delivery of illegal narcotics. They also seized a switchblade knife and a pellet gun, which are both illegal. So that happened just a few days ago, and now we've got another big drug bust that happened yesterday. And Seattle police make yet another drug bust at Encampment in the Yesler Terrace neighborhood, not far from the first one we just talked about. Seattle police found drugs and a large stash of weapons in a homeless tent 1 day after making a drug bust at another encampment in Pioneer Square. This is an epidemic. We are making busts left and right, which is good. We're stopping some of the crime temporarily. But how long are these guys put in jail for? Let's keep going here, right? Some of the weapons seized in the tent today were a pistol, knives, machetes, a sword, a taser, a wooden club, a baton, and a realistic-looking BB gun. You know, I think there was like a pellet gun in the last bust as well. It was a really realistic-looking pellet gun. Why do you have a pellet gun? Because it looks realistic, but you don't really want to kill some. I don't know. Police found drugs and cash in the tent near Yesler Way. Authorities arrested 3 men and took a woman to the hospital for unrelated injuries. That's a bonus for that woman. Oh, you're busting those guys. Can you help me out? I'm really hurt over here. Crazy stuff going on here in the streets of Seattle, right? This comes 1 day after a major drug bust at a cluster of tents in Pioneer Square. Como News confirmed the 3 suspects arrested in the Tuesday drug bust are back on the streets. And this is as of, when was this as of? Yeah, Wednesday. So 2 days ago. So, 2-day turnaround time. They're busted. Next day, back out on the streets. It's what we're doing here in Seattle. Hey, sorry to interrupt your criming lifestyle. Here's your get out of free jail card because you got busted in Seattle. We're not going to really do anything. So Pioneer Square business owners are skeptical. It only took 24 hours before 3 men arrested in a drug dealing operation run out of the homeless tents. These same guys are back on the streets. Police seized guns, knives, cash, 139 grams of meth, 7 grams of crack cocaine, and nearly 4 grams of heroin Monday. That's the previous bust we're talking about. The city did not take action until this point. And then, of course, to have them released 24 hours later, it's just shocking, said Lindsay. I don't think it's shocking anymore. I think it's just totally normal, but it shows just how absurd the disregard for law is here in Seattle. The King County Prosecutor's Office said that they asked the judges to hold each of the men in jail on bail ranging from $10,000 to $30,000. But judges released 2 men on their own recognizance or a promise to appear in court. Will you show up in court, please? Pretty please. I know you've done some major crime here, and you've got some other crime going on, before this. But pretty please, will you come back to jail? Just tell us you will, okay? We're not gonna hold up your criming lifestyle. We don't want to do that. That's not our job here as judges in King County Court. A 3rd man was released on a probable cause technicality. Oh, ouch. This is just normal. Releasing them was clearly a mistake. I believe that, Lindsay said. At the same time, you have to say that what in the world is the city of Seattle doing, allowing these tent encampments to go on in this location, creating this ecosystem of camouflage for illegal activity? That's 100% right. That's exactly what it is. It's a camouflaged ecosystem of crime. Lindsay and business owners said this incident underscores what they see as a lack of accountability persisting in Seattle. It's just too much. We need to intervene early and often and throw these people in jail and keep them there. Get them off the streets for a long time. According to the prosecutor's office, 2 of the men have a history of assault charges. What? Shocking. I know. One man even has an assault trial coming up in April. If you've got an assault trial coming up, that means you've been charged with that. Then you're charged with this stuff. This is just a free-for-all, right? You're in front of judges, and the judges are basically saying, yeah, we know you're involved in some heavy stuff, but here in Seattle, we love our fellow human beings so much. Hall pass. Get out there. Continue your criming ways. Don't let me down. I know you can do it. I know you can persevere in the face of this arrest, but you're just going to have to dig down deep. And when we send you on your merry way, you're going to have to pep up those spirits, get back to your criming, and we'll see you soon. I mean, doesn't that feel like that's kind of exactly what King County courts are doing? This is crazy. It's why I live in Bellevue. But I talk about this stuff because this is the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. This doesn't have a lot to do with real estate on the surface, but man, if you live in downtown Seattle and you're dealing with this stuff, it has a lot to do with real estate. If you own a business in these areas that are having a tough time coming back because all the big high rises are empty because all the big employers are like, you guys can work from home forever, or until it's more politically acceptable for me to drag your ass back to your little cubicle in the high rise. Because when that time comes, you better believe I'm going to do that. And I'm talking as the CEO. These CEOs, they're just going to pull people back. No doubt about it. That's what I think. That's what I feel. Other people are like, no, we're going to work from home forever. I don't think you will. I just don't. I don't think most businesses are going to go with that plan. Maybe more so than in the past. But in the meantime, yeah, we've got all these situations going on in these downtown corridors. And this is not a unique thing to Seattle. This is happening in a lot of other cities that have, guess what? The common denominator? Progressive leadership. You got it. And what are those guys doing? Not much. But as they continue to do not much, I will tell you about it right here in the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Thanks for being part. I'm going to go. I've got another one. What am I talking about on my next one? Washington State struck down drug possession. Yeah, if you possess drugs on you, you're going to be able to get off scot-free. These drugs in my pants they're not mine. We're going to go there. They're somebody else's. Somebody else. These pants I just bought at the thrift store. I didn't really check them out. I didn't put my hands in the pockets. I just put them on, went out the door. Don't blame me. Not my fault. Not my drugs. Man, I wish that was a defense back in the day, because I might have got off on something. Don't really remember. A long time ago. Whew. Yeah, that whole trip to King County downtown, not fun. All right. Enough of that. We'll catch up with you guys soon. Talk then. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.